Wild Sing is much more than a reunion story about an old pop group getting one last chance to perform together. Beneath its comedy, road trip chaos, and nostalgic musical performances, the film explores betrayal, forgiveness, aging, and the importance of finding closure. By the end, the members of Triangle finally realize that reclaiming their lives is more important than reclaiming their past fame. The story begins during the early days of the new millennium when 19-year-old Hwang Hyun-woo is discovered by producer Park Yong-gu. Together with rapper Choi Seong-gon and vocalist Baeun Do-mi, he spends a year training before debuting as part of the co-ed group Triangle. Their first single becomes an enormous success, quickly turning the trio into one of the most popular acts in the country. For a brief period, everything seems perfect. The group dominates the music charts. Their fanbase grows rapidly. Their second album strengthens their popularity. It appears they are on the path toward becoming one of the defining musical acts of their generation. Then everything falls apart almost overnight. One of the most devastating revelations is that Triangle never received the financial rewards they deserved. Despite becoming stars, they were never properly paid for their success. Soon afterward, another disaster strikes. Their biggest hit is exposed as a plagiarized song. Although the composition had publicly been credited to Hyun-woo, he becomes one of the people forced to carry the public humiliation despite not being responsible for what happened behind the scenes. The final blow comes when Park Yong-gu disappears. Instead of standing beside the artists whose careers he built, he flees the country and leaves them to face the scandal alone. Without leadership, trust, or hope, Triangle collapses. Do-mi walks away. The group breaks apart. Their dream ends in disgrace rather than celebration. More than 20 years later, the film revisits these once famous performers and shows how differently life has treated each of them. Hyun-woo survives by accepting small television and radio appearances, constantly reminded that his greatest success belongs to the distant past. Seong-gun's attempts to build a solo career have left him buried in debt, forcing him into an ordinary insurance job simply to survive. Do-mi appears financially comfortable after marrying into a wealthy family, but her comfortable life lacks the excitement and personal freedom she once enjoyed as a performer. Each member has achieved stability in different ways, yet none of them have truly moved on from Triangle. That changes when an unexpected reunion concert is announced. The opportunity represents far more than another performance. It offers the possibility of rewriting how the world remembers them. Hyun-woo becomes the emotional driving force behind the reunion. Despite years of disappointment, he refuses to believe their story should end with scandal and failure. Convincing the others proves difficult because every member carries emotional scars from what happened decades earlier. Still, one by one, they agree to return. The film also brings back Choi Seong-gon. His storyline mirrors Triangle's in many ways. Once a successful singer, his career was destroyed by a scandal during the same period that Triangle collapsed. Now he spends his days living in isolation as a wild boar hunter. Like the members of Triangle, he has spent years carrying regrets that never fully healed. His invitation to perform alongside them immediately suggests the reunion is not only about one group. It is about giving forgotten artists the chance to reclaim their dignity. One of the most entertaining sections of the film begins when Park Yong-gu unexpectedly returns. Living under a new identity after years abroad, he believes he can quietly avoid confronting his past. Instead, he comes face to face with the very people whose lives he helped destroy. The confrontation quickly spirals into a series of increasingly absurd situations. Car chases, traffic accidents, police pursuits, truck collisions, failed rehearsals. Even moments when the group believes they may have seriously injured Park. These sequences provide much of the film's comedy, but beneath the humor lies something much more important. For years, Triangle blamed Park for every terrible thing that happened to them. Finally confronting him forces them to ask whether holding onto that anger has actually helped them. The emotional turning point comes when Hyun-woo tells Park something completely unexpected. Instead of demanding repayment or revenge, he tells him they forgive him. They no longer need compensation for the past. At first glance, this decision may seem surprisingly generous. In reality, it reflects how much the characters have grown. Forgiveness does not erase what Park did. It simply means Triangle refuses to let their future remain controlled by old betrayals. Park responds by accepting responsibility for the recent accidents and publicly clearing the group's name, allowing police to escort them to the concert venue. Although his actions cannot undo decades of damage, they represent his first genuine attempt to make things right. When Triangle finally reaches the concert, another obstacle appears. They discover they have already been replaced by Tae-pung, the singer who originally benefited from their downfall after the plagiarism scandal. This moment symbolizes everything the group has struggled against. History appears ready to repeat itself. Once again, someone else is prepared to take the opportunity that should have belonged to them. Rather than quietly accepting another disappointment, Triangle refuses to give up. After a confrontation leaves Tae-pung unable to perform, they force their way onto the stage. The concert becomes the emotional climax of the entire film. Without elaborate production or expensive effects, they begin singing completely a cappella. Their voices alone capture the audience's attention. As the backing music joins them, each performer contributes something reflecting how they have changed over the years. Yong-gu delivers fresh rap verses inspired by the hardships he endured after fame disappeared. His lyrics no longer celebrate success. They celebrate survival. Doomy reminds everyone why she was such an important part of Triangle by delivering powerful vocals that immediately reconnect the audience with the group's original sound. Hyun-woo finishes the performance by showcasing the breakdancing talent that first made him a star. Instead of desperately trying to recreate youthful perfection, the group performs with the confidence that comes from experience. The audience responds exactly as they once dreamed. Old fans begin chanting. Smiles replace disappointment. For the first time in more than 20 years, Triangle receives the applause that had been stolen from them. Choi Seong-gon also returns to the stage during the concert, completing his own emotional journey. His performance demonstrates that redemption is not reserved only for Triangle. Everyone damaged by those earlier scandals finally receives another opportunity to be remembered for their talent instead of their failures. Although the concert officially exists to support a regional Olympic bid, its true purpose is much more personal. It gives every performer involved the proper farewell they never received. The ending avoids an unrealistic fairy tale. Triangle does not suddenly become the biggest musical group in the country again. Instead, each member chooses the future that feels right for them. Doomy decides to return to her family. This decision is especially meaningful because it is now her own choice rather than an obligation imposed by others. She does not abandon music completely. Instead, she remains connected by becoming the group's producer. In doing so, she continues shaping Triangle's future without sacrificing the life she has built. Hyun-woo and Yong-gu continue performing together under the Triangle name. Joining them is Choi Seong-gon, who becomes the group's new vocalist. This final lineup beautifully reflects one of the film's central messages. Sometimes moving forward does not mean recreating the past exactly as it was. Sometimes it means carrying the best parts of that past into something entirely new. Wild Sing ultimately argues that closure is more valuable than revenge. The members of Triangle spend years believing success meant exposing those who betrayed them or reclaiming the fame they lost. Instead, they discover that true victory comes from performing together once more, reconnecting with loyal fans, forgiving the mistakes that haunted them and proving that their friendship survived even when their careers did not. The ending leaves viewers with a hopeful reminder that second chances rarely restore the past exactly as it was. Instead, they offer the opportunity to build something stronger using everything life has taught along the way. For Hyunwoo, Sang-gu, Doomi, and Seong-gon, that final concert is not simply a comeback. It is the moment they finally take ownership of their own story after spending more than 20 years living in the shadow of someone else's betrayal.